Hi, this is Lyssa Atkins, and you've got me for 5 minutes with Lyssa. Here's another question from that group of leaders I was working with. They're asking specifically, can you elaborate a bit more on the 5 CCs, what I call the 5 core competencies, or 5 CCs for short. So what we were doing as we were working together is I was saying, like reasonably, as a leader, you're focused on the business goals, the objectives, key results, the metrics, the strategies, all of that. Totally appropriate. The way all those things get activated is through conversations, working sessions, decisions. The way all that happens is through the employment of 5 core competencies. And those 5 core competencies are the following: communication, collaboration, creativity, conflict, and change. Now, these are just the 5 that I pay most attention to when I'm working with a group. So that's where this came from. This didn't come down from, the heavens and is like the only thing you should ever pay attention to. It's just that I notice that when these 5 core competencies are not very strong, then our conversations and decisions aren't very strong. Our working sessions are not as creative and is not as forward thinking as they could be. And as a result, of course, our objectives and key results and strategies and goals suffer. So that's why when I work with groups, I'm constantly scanning and saying, like, okay, so what's the health? In other words, what's their level of competence with each of these 5 core competencies? So let's just drill into each one a little bit more. So the first one is communication, which is literally, I ask the question to myself, how healthy is their communication? And what I'm looking for there is how much are they passing the ball around in every conversation? And how much are they building on what the person has just said versus this pattern, which I know you've seen before, of like someone makes a move, no one says anything. Another one makes another move, no one says anything. It's like move, 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 and they go nowhere. So I'm looking for patterns of where someone makes a move and then someone will either object to that move or build on it or make a generalized comment that helps the group see where they are. And I'm looking for that to be more of the pattern of what I call passing the ball around. So there's lots of other things to look at in communication. That's just one of the first things to look at to ask yourself the question, how healthy is my team's or my multiple teams' communication? So the next one is collaboration. It's similar to communication, that collaboration requires people to be able to build on each other's ideas. And so, I would look there to things like how often do they talk to one another? How much of it is building the emergent thing together versus just going with the first person's idea or going with the dominant voice's idea? How much can they tolerate the tension of not knowing? Because one of the important things about collaboration is being in the space of the uncertain and letting something amazing emerge from that space of the uncertain. And so for collaboration, I'm looking more of like, well, first of all, how accomplished are the individuals as individual collaborators? And then how well can they collaborate as a group? And there's actually a whole chapter on coach as a collaboration conductor as a metaphor in the Coaching Agile Teams book that I wrote years ago that is still really valid today. So that's the second one, the second C. So we had communication, collaboration, now we're up to creativity. So, creativity is just the ability to keep looking for new ideas and to keep looking in unusual places. And so when I'm watching a group or a team interact, and especially a leadership team, I'm constantly paying attention to like, so how new do these ideas seem to be? Or are they just sort of going through the same solutions they've been going through for years? Are they just talking about the same things with slightly different veneer on them? Or is something, like interesting happening, something novel happening? Now, in order to increase the creativity of a group, which was another question I got, there's lots and lots of things you can do. You can do things like have the team do improv games in order to loosen them up and get them to start working outside of their normal frames of mind. You can have them do exercises like the 5 thinking hats that you can look up on the internet. A bunch of things, a bunch of things. But the first thing is to help them see how creative they're being right now. And as a leader, you have a specific vantage point that can be really useful to them. You can say to them, I'm really happy with the number of novel ideas you all are coming up with, the number of truly unique solutions that are emerging. Or you can say, it seems like we're doing the same solutions over and over again with a slightly different cover on top. And so I'd like to see how much more creativity we could have in our work. And then because they have to have somewhere to start. They have to know what you are dissatisfied with, because otherwise they'll just keep going along as they are. So that's a little bit more about how to help cultivate creativity, because that was the second question I got. Okay. Communication, collaboration, creativity. The fourth one is conflict. People can develop actual competence in navigating their own conflict. It doesn't need to be resolved or mediated by anyone else, as long as they get good at, number one, recognizing they're in conflict, number two, seeing it as something normal and actually necessary, and number three, learning some basic skills for navigating it together. And again, there's a whole chapter in the Coaching Agile Teams book about this, and many other books. And the last one is competence in change. That's the fifth core competency. Because we are in an ever-changing landscape. And so there is actual skill that one can build in order to continue to metabolize changes as they come, one after the other, without being freaked out about it. Now, I think the Agile frameworks themselves are one of the best allies we have for navigating, or metabolizing is a better word, for metabolizing this constant change. Because even though we're in a very complex world that's constantly changing, the Agile frameworks get things down to a very short period of time where we're going to deliver a real piece of value. And then once we've delivered it, then that's all to the good. We've banked that piece of value. Everything's changed out here. So now we can bring in the most important next thing to do that probably has changed since the last time we looked all of 2 weeks ago. And then we can develop that one. So there's lots of specific ways that Agile frameworks help us metabolize constant change, and it is a skill set to just get good at. So that's a little bit more about the 5 core competencies that I look at when I'm working with groups. And it's just a way to start to see, like, what are the skills underneath all of these conversations and decisions and working sessions that people are in, so that they can achieve some goal together.